It's a simple idea to bring promising discoveries from researchers in the laboratory to patients in the clinic. But the reality is that path can be long and difficult. Transforming a discovery into a treatment often takes decades. The Clinical Services Corps at the university has worked tirelessly to streamline that process, providing support for researchers who define disease mechanisms in research participants and then develop successful treatments for disease. With the ability to accommodate even the most complex and demanding clinical research protocols, the Corps continuously evolves to meet the changing needs of both researcher and participant. By providing researchers with the cutting-edge equipment, expert training, and professional staff necessary to conduct safe, participant-oriented clinical research, the Corps serves as a catalyst for innovation in healthcare delivery. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the Clinical Services Corps, which has long been recognized as fundamental to carrying out the mission of the University of Utah healthcare system.
People were doing genetic research before there was such a term, genetic research, even before the CRC. Well, that began at the Salt Lake County Hospital on 21st South and State Street. You should have seen what the Salt Lake County Hospital was like. It was quite a place. There was a World War II barracks building behind it where Dr. Wintrow brought research subjects to study blood diseases. It was called the Bloodshed. But Dr. Wintrow played a central role in the planning of the new hospital. That was in his opinion, his crowning achievement here was to have a real academic hospital. He wanted research facilities. He thought research was part of the academic mission, and without clinical research, clinical departments would be second rate. But he felt that you had to create new knowledge, and to do that, you had to do research, and to do clinical research, you needed a lab, and the lab was the CRC. University Hospital, if you looked at it from the top, it looked like an E. The vertical limb of the E was the R wing, R for research. The Physical Rehabilitation Center was down on the lower levels, and the CRC was on the 4th floor. The other early studies in the 60s had that this was the era of kidney transplant development. We were doing kidney transplants on the CRC then. A surgeon named Gary Maxwell was here, and Kolf's role was how to keep the patients alive through dialysis. Paul Terasaki, who developed the techniques of tissue typing, he was here for the kidney transplant program, which occupied a significant portion of the space and the budget of the CRC then. Of course, everything that they did very rapidly became standard clinical practice. Improving human health is the end point for all of this, and so they actually achieved that end point.
In 2007, a new program emerged. Elias Zerhouni, who was director of the NIH at the time, envisioned a much broader umbrella that would support this full range of what we call translational science.
Clinical research is research conducted in the clinical arena, whereas translational science starts at the scientist at the bench and cycles into the clinical research arena and back to the bench. The idea behind the CTSA grant is that we would be able to improve that process, that cycle, and accelerate new discoveries for healthcare.
And so this broader umbrella now covers, instead of just the one core, the GCRC, which is now the Clinical Services Corps, which actually remains the heart, I think, of our center. But we now have cores that support statistics, study design, research ethics, biomedical informatics, and education of the trainees who are going to work in all these spheres.
The University of Utah was one of the very first national centers to obtain that CTSA award. Since 2007, we've worked very hard to broaden and diversify the investigators who use the CTSA.
The new CRC facility, I think it's pretty luxurious. It's a wonderful recruiting tool. When faculty come looking at positions, where can I do my research on human subjects? Here, look at this.
One of the main features that attracted me to Utah was the Clinical Research Center. And one of the earliest memories I have after my arriving is meeting Dr. James Kushner, who was such a critical thinker and so integral to helping me think about how to design my research and to do the trials, that I found him to be a wonderful mentor. Having the opportunity to work at the University of Utah and have the support of the population for research, to have the support of the university, to have this wonderful center was really inspirational to me and really helped promote my own ability to succeed in clinical research studies.
Our department was funded by the National Institutes of Health about 13 years ago, a 5-year study. We were going to conduct this study in our own facility. Dr. Kushner bumped into us and encouraged us to visit with him about using the Clinical Research Center. We moved our study to the CRC and added a large variety of additional tests, and as a result, we've been able to continue funding for now in the 13th year of funding. We wouldn't have received this funding had we not conducted this research at the CRC with the variety of tests that were conducted through their services.
When I came on board at Huntsman Cancer Institute and University of Utah in this position, Huntsman was a very new building. We were very excited to have this opportunity to grow the cancer research. And one of the visions of Huntsman Cancer Institute was to be able to truly translate those discoveries into treatments. In 1998, the CCTS went through a transition, and Huntsman Cancer Institute was a partner in this transition. The Huntsman Cancer Foundation provided support for this transition because investigator-initiated trials are so important to be able to advance cancer treatment.
When I moved my lab from NYU to the University of Utah, I brought with me 3 NIH grants, and they are all clinical grants. And in particular, one of my grants is very, very labor intensive. And when I was in New York, it was a challenge to get that protocol done correctly. And so I was just delighted when I discovered the Clinical Services Corps here at the University of Utah. The people were just so professional. They really were skilled at coordinating things, but also were wonderfully kind and warm for our patients, who are, in this case, not only patients, but also volunteering to help advance science.
As we reflect today on our 50-year history, we are so grateful to those who came before us and for the foundation of excellence that they laid through the General Clinical Research Center that allows us to move forward today with our partners confidently to accelerate our discoveries into better health.
To the Clinical Services Corps of the CCTS, happy 50th anniversary.
I mean, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.